Welcome back to my channel, Stardust Stories, where I aim to tell my stories in order to help someone overcome heartache and pain in their lives. By realizing that no matter what your circumstances, you have the power within you to overcome anything. Let me start this episode with this quote. We have stories to tell, stories that provide wisdom about the journey of life. What more have we to give one another than our truth about our human adventure as honestly and as openly as we know how? By Rabbi Saul Rubin. Certain decisions we make in life seem so stupid at the time that they were made, and you could actually slap yourself against the head for making them. That is how I felt. How could I be so stupid? How could I allow myself to get back into a situation that I thought so hard to get away from, just to walk straight back into it? Again, the hindsight situation, I guess. Wow. If only we had the ability to see into the future. But life doesn't work that way. And I guess we have to make the same mistakes over and over again until the lesson is learned. And if it's not learned, we will keep on making the same mistakes. After the attempted suicide, my ex was on his best behavior. And although I was pessimistic about everything, I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and life carried on as normal, or as close to normal as one could get. One day at work, I got a telephone call from my ex-boss. I was surprised to hear from him after all this time, but it was also good to chat to him again. He then asked me if I would consider coming back to work for him. I was confused for a while, and I moved away from that town to start a new life, and now I was considering going back. But the offer he made me was just too good to pass by, and after discussing it with my ex, we weighed the pros and the cons against each other and finally made the decision to move back to our old hometown. After the move and settling down into our new home and our new life, I started working at my old company, and although the dynamics of the business changed a lot since I left the first time, it was great to be back, and I learned so many new things. I was mentally stimulated again, and I enjoyed my new position. Although my ex did not get a job at first, he eventually got a job as a traffic officer in the town that we lived in. And with him employed again, we actually were living a good life, and because of his work, his drinking was also not that bad. And things were actually better between us. So much so that he asked me to marry him again. And boy oh boy, what did I do? I agreed. So we got married and things were going good for a while. But then I started noticing his drinking was getting more and more regular again. And it was obviously causing issues between us and also influencing his work. And again, our relationship started going worse and worse. But I tried, boy did I try. But eventually, it all proved futile, and this behavior of his was never going to end. And I realized that I made the biggest mistake of my life. And I was pushed into a corner out of which I just had to get. And then fate intervened again to put a twist in this story. I felt sick and I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. Eventually, I went to see my doctor, and after some tests, he informed me that I was pregnant. Wow, how did this happen? I was using birth control, and with my relationship so fragile, it wasn't as if we slept together all that much. But fate and the universe decided otherwise. At first, I was devastated. I really did not want to have another baby. I had all these issues with my marriage to try and get out of. How could I bring another baby into this life? I was at my wit's end. I really did not know how to handle the situation. I felt depressed and angry with life. How could this happen? I was just about to walk away from my second marriage, to the same man that is, to try and salvage a life for my son and I. And now with another baby on the way, I knew doing that was not going to be that easy, and that I was trapped in this marriage and life. My second pregnancy was very easy. I had no major issues, and as the months passed, I made peace in myself with the thought of having this baby. I was working and started a second job making finger food platters to supplement my income, as I knew that my expenses was going to increase, and with my husband not able to keep a job, I just couldn't depend on him for supporting the children and myself. And then 9 months later, my beautiful baby girl was born. All the resentment towards my pregnancy and having another baby disappeared like mist before the sun when I held her in my arms for the first time. She was so tiny, fragile, and perfect. I felt so guilty for being so negative about this pregnancy when I first learned that I was pregnant with her. I fell in love with her and instantaneously knew that I would protect her for the rest of my life. I did not go back to work after she was born. My food platter business was doing relatively well, and my husband landed a great job at one of the mines in the area. So we decided that I would stay at home with the kids and continue with the platter business. And it was good because I had a lot of time to spend with the kids, and I was still earning a relatively good income. I put my son in a daycare center so that he could have some contact with other kids his own age, and also for the stimulation that a daycare provided. So things were actually going well for us, and also between my husband and I. But as always, that was also not going to last for long. He started drinking again, and we started fighting again. And I somehow knew that I had to start looking for a way out of this relationship, that he was never going to change, and I could not live like that anymore, and that I couldn't expose my kids to that anymore. So I decided to start looking for a permanent job so that I could become financially independent again. As fate always dictates my life and the paths I get to walk, the lady from the daycare's husband knew a new hotel that was opening in the area and that they were looking for staff. And obviously I jumped at the opportunity to go for an interview, and lo and behold, I landed a great admin job. Because my husband worked for one of the mines in the area, we then moved into a mining house that was also closer to where I was going to work. And although things were not great between us, we sort of tolerated each other, mainly because of the kids, I think. But we had no relationship, and we were growing further and further apart. I started my new job at the hotel when my daughter was about 8 months old. It was quite a challenge for me, as I have never worked in that industry before. And although my job was more administrative in nature, It was a challenge for me, and boy was I ready for a new challenge in my life. But on the home front, things were not good at all. And I made a final decision that I needed to get out. I was not prepared to carry on living like that. For my own sanity and the welfare of my children, I had to walk away from this once and for all. Once again, due to the fact that I worked for an amazing boss, after discussing my problems with him, I was offered accommodation for myself and my kids at the hotel. This enabled me to get out of my marriage as well as being able to continue working. And although the room that we were given to stay in was small, I felt a major relief once I decided to walk away. But walking away wasn't as easy as I would have liked it to be. Because although we had nothing left in our marriage, he still didn't want me to leave and tried everything to keep me from doing it. One weekend just before I moved out, he arrived from work on a Friday afternoon, and I told him that I was going to start packing my things for the move. He got so angry with me, he took my car keys, locked myself and the 2 kids in the house, and left. I didn't have a phone at the time, and I was therefore forced to stay in that house with my children the entire weekend. He only came back late on the Sunday night. I was furious with him, and that was like the last straw. If there was even the slightest bit of doubt in my mind if I was doing the right thing, that weekend and what he had done to us made me realize that getting away from him was the only thing that I could do. And that is exactly what I did. My boss helped me that Monday afternoon to move my belongings to the hotel, and I was out of that house. I settled down with my kids and focused on work and building a new life for us. I really enjoyed every minute of working at the hotel. I learned so many new skills, and just being out in nature was good for my soul. I was free, and I could start to heal and start a new life. As I said at the beginning of this episode, some decisions we make in life are in order to learn a lesson or for certain things to happen. And if you did not make those decisions at that specific time, the outcome of your story could have been so much different. If I did not marry my husband again, I would not have had my little baby girl. She was the reason I had to go back to him, and for that I will forever be grateful. If I did not marry him again, I would not have learned the lesson that people rarely change and that they are who they are. I had to go through everything with him to make me realize that he would never change, and no matter how many chances I would give him, he just would never change. And I had to accept that as fact. That I would never be so gullible as to believe anything he says again. But also the decision I made to accept the job at that hotel was just the beginning of a whole new chapter in my life. A chapter filled with so many new lessons. In the next episode, I will tell you about the new chapter that was about to start and how everything that happened during that chapter would influence me to be the person I am today. Never forget, you are strong, you are loved, and you are special.